Hey everybody, me again, sorry, but welcome to Basecamp, the best way to start your day. I'm Pastor Joe, and I'm really glad that you joined us today. Basecamp is a tool to help you develop the habit of spending daily time with God. And as you know, get psyched, Friday is Church History Day. I hope you've come to enjoy the little stories that I've been sharing about the men and women that, by God's grace, made Christianity what it is today. We're coming up on Halloween, the time of the year when we dress up and go looking for candy any place we can find it. But there's another more important holiday that we can tend to miss. So, October 31st, guess what we'll be celebrating this year? Happy Reformation Day, everyone. You may have heard of the Protestant Reformation in history class, but I doubt it, so I'll take it upon myself to give you the details. In the 16th century, there was a massive shift in the church. As I've mentioned in some previous base camps, there were not many printed Bibles up until this time. Most translations were in Greek or Latin, and until the printing press was developed later in the latter part of the 15th century, there was no efficient way to make copies of anything. They would have to handwrite them, including the Bible. So people, everyday people, didn't have Bibles in their homes. They were typically in churches, and only the church leaders could read the Latin. And this led to all sorts of problems, mainly that corrupt church leaders started teaching things that were not in the Bible in order to keep control over the people and put a little extra money in their pockets. The people had no way to know because they couldn't read the Latin and they didn't have a Bible in their home. And this caused a revolution called the Protestant Reformation. The Reformers were a group of people dedicated to knowing the Bible and following it as the source of truth for the lives of Jesus' followers. The Reformers were fed up with corrupt church leaders telling them things that were not contained in the scriptures and for profiting off of those lies. So they changed things up and they led a revolution against the leadership and changed the course of Christianity forever. One of the leaders of the Reformation was a man named Martin Luther. Maybe you've heard that name before. Luther was a lawyer who left his career in law to become a monk. And as Luther studied the Bible, he began to see that what the Pope was doing was not okay, like saying that tradition had the same authority as the Bible, or that you had to pay to be invited into God's family. From the Reformation came one of the most important statements in Christian history, that we are saved by grace alone, through Christ alone. We cannot buy or earn our way into God's favor or into His family. But this was one of many concerns that Luther had. One of his most famous works was called The Disputation on the Power and Efficacy of the Indulgences. We also know this document simply as the 95 Theses, a list of questions and concerns for the Roman Catholic Church. The way that he wrote these questions were not accusatory or rude or domineering, but more questioning and asking people to have a conversation or debate about these things. He took this document, the 95 Theses, and nailed it to the front of the door in Wittenberg Castle Church in Germany. This was essentially the equivalent of like putting a notice on a public board, like you see at the library. He nailed his questions and thoughts to the door of the church as a public notice that he wanted to begin a debate, a thorough conversation about these concerns. That moment was one of the key moments that launched the Protestant Reformation, that changed the way that the church would function forever. And on what day do you think he nailed the 95 Theses to the door of the Castle Church? October 31st, 1517. So, in the midst of costumes and candy that we'll see all around us, I hope that you all will remember this story of Martin Luther and the wonderful clarity that he brought, remembering that we are saved by grace alone, through faith in Christ alone. So, on October 31st, remember to wish everyone you see a happy Reformation Day. Have a great day, and we'll see you back here on Monday for another version of Basecamp.